Most people think affirmations are just wishful thinking, but science tells a different story. Functional MRI scans have shown that when a person repeats positive statements like, I am enough, or I am successful, specific areas of the brain light up, particularly the medial prefrontal cortex, which is linked to self-identity and future planning. This isn't spiritual fluff. It's measurable brain activity. What's even more fascinating is that the brain doesn't distinguish between a deeply repeated affirmation and an actual, lived experience. Repetition creates new neural pathways, a concept known as neuroplasticity. It means your brain literally rewires itself based on what you say and believe about yourself. Long before neuroscience had the tools to measure this, Florence was already teaching that your words shape your reality. She taught that the subconscious mind absorbs your dominant thoughts, especially the ones you repeat with emotion. And now, the data backs it up. In one study published in Social Cognitive and Affective Neuroscience, participants who practiced self-affirmation showed increased activity in the reward centers of the brain. They weren't just thinking positively. Their brains were shifting into a new emotional and cognitive state. This is why the I am statements are so powerful. When you say, I am confident, even if you don't fully believe it yet, your brain begins to form the pathway for that version of yourself to exist. Say it long enough, and the brain starts acting as if it's already true. This is exactly what Florence was trying to show us, not as theory, but as law. The law of mind, the law of repetition, the law of identity. And it all begins with the words you speak about yourself. You're not just affirming, you're programming. If you've ever doubted whether your words had power, now you know. Science agrees with your spirit. Let me show you exactly how to use it in your daily life, because this isn't just theory. This is your tool for transformation. The subconscious mind is not logical. It doesn't analyze. It doesn't debate. It receives. That's why repetition is the gateway. When you say something enough times, the subconscious doesn't ask, is this true? It simply records it as instruction. Florence Scovel Shinn understood this long before brain scans confirmed it. She said, your word is your wand. That wasn't poetic metaphor. It was literal instruction, because the subconscious responds to words as if they were commands. From a neuroscience perspective, this process aligns with the reticular activating system, RAS, the part of the brain that filters what information gets through to your conscious awareness. When you constantly affirm something, the RAS starts noticing opportunities that match it. Say, I am worthy, long enough, and your brain starts to collect evidence to support it. This is why people get stuck. If someone says, I'm always broke, or nothing works out for me, long enough the subconscious accepts it. The brain starts filtering the world to confirm it. Not because it's truth, but because it's repeated. Florence didn't need a degree in neuroscience to know this. She saw the results. She worked with people who had struggled for years, and their lives changed, not by chance, but by changing their dominant thought pattern. And that begins with what you say. Think of the subconscious like fertile soil. Whatever you plant with repetition and emotion, it grows. And the more often you plant the same seed, the stronger the root becomes. Modern science calls this long-term potentiation, the strengthening of neural pathways through consistent activation. In simple terms, neurons that fire together wire together. So every time you affirm something, good or bad, you're physically reinforcing a mental reality. That's why it matters. That's why your words matter. Not just for motivation, but for neurological transformation. If you've been speaking against yourself, it's time to stop. Because what you repeat becomes who you are. Decades before anyone could measure brain activity with fMRI scans or map neural pathways, Florence was already teaching that the subconscious mind obeys the words you speak, especially when spoken with conviction. She didn't need machines. She had results. When she said, "The subconscious has no sense of humor, and people often joke themselves into unhappy experiences," she was describing the exact principle science now calls suggestibility, the brain's natural tendency to absorb repeated messages, especially when delivered emotionally or with authority. At the time, most people laughed at this idea. They believed success came from hard work and external control, not inner belief. But Florence's teachings weren't about avoiding effort. They were about aligning your inner world so your effort had power. And here's what's remarkable. Today, neuroscientists have proven that repeated self-talk physically reshapes the brain. This is the essence of Hebbian learning, the idea that the brain gets better at whatever you repeat, including your thoughts, your identity, and your emotional responses. When Florence encouraged people to speak affirmations like, "I am fearless in the face of lack," she was helping them install new default patterns in their subconscious. Long before we had words like rewiring or neuroplasticity, she knew that if you wanted to change your life, you had to start with what you say about it. Even the spiritual principle of the word becoming flesh that she so often referenced aligns with the biological truth that speech activates neural firing, which influences everything from behavior to hormone production. It wasn't magic, it was mental law. And now, finally, science is catching up. The real question is, are you using this law to build the life you want? Or are you letting old beliefs write your story on autopilot? Because whether you realize it or not, your brain is always listening, and it's building your reality with every word you speak. In a groundbreaking study from University College London, researchers discovered that repeating new behaviors or beliefs for just 66 days is enough to create lasting neurological change. This isn't just a nice theory. They scanned brains and watched the rewiring happen. One participant, a woman who had struggled with self-worth her entire life, was asked to repeat a simple phrase each morning. "I am valuable. My voice matters." She didn't believe it at first. In fact, it felt ridiculous. But she kept going. By the third week, brain scans showed increased activity in the ventromedial prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for self-identity and confidence. By day 45, she reported speaking up more at work and making better choices in relationships. Nothing around her had changed, but her brain had. And that changed everything else. Florence Scovel Shinn would have looked at this woman and said, "Of course. Your word is your wand." The repetition wasn't just healing her thoughts, it was changing the architecture of her mind. This is the heart of neuroplasticity. Your brain is always adapting to what you tell it is true. If you say, "I am a failure," it strengthens that belief. If you say, "I am powerful," it begins to construct evidence for that reality. Florence didn't need a lab. She had lived experience. She saw people reverse financial despair, attract love, recover from illness, not by chance, but by training the subconscious through intentional language. You might not have access to an MRI machine, but you do have access to the one tool that shapes your destiny: your words. So the question isn't, will this work for me? The question is, are you willing to speak a new reality long enough for your brain to catch up? Because once it does, nothing about your life stays the same. You've probably heard it before. Just say affirmations every day. But here's the truth. Words without emotion are just noise. The subconscious doesn't respond to what's repeated only. It responds to what's felt. Modern neuroscience backs this up. Studies from the HeartMath Institute show that when positive emotions like gratitude, joy, and certainty are combined with spoken affirmations, heart-brain coherence increases dramatically, creating a state where the body and mind sync up. This is when the subconscious is most open to suggestion. It's no coincidence that Florence emphasized the spirit behind the word. She said, "Words and thoughts are a form of radioactivity, and when charged with feeling, they move mountains. Saying I am successful while feeling doubt or resistance won't create change. But when you say it with even a flicker of belief, a sense of curiosity, a tiny spark of possibility, your subconscious starts to listen. Emotion amplifies the signal. Think of it like writing on a whiteboard. When you speak words flatly, they barely leave a mark. But when you speak with emotion, you write those words in bold, permanent ink. This is why moments of heartbreak, trauma, or shame leave deep imprints, because the emotion made them stick. But it works the other way too. Joy, hope, gratitude, those can rewire you just as powerfully. So when you speak your I am, don't just say it like you're reciting a list. Pause, breathe, feel. Even if you have to pretend at first, engage your body, your heart, your breath. Say it like your future depends on it, because it does. And here's the beautiful part. As you begin to feel the emotion, even just a little, your subconscious starts accepting it as real. That's when the shift begins. Here's the truth most people don't want to hear. It's not that affirmations don't work. It's that people don't know how to work with them. The biggest mistake is this. You speak affirmations while continuing to think and act in direct opposition. You say, I am abundant, but spend the rest of the day worrying about bills. You say, I am confident, but avoid every opportunity to speak up. That contradiction is what sends a mixed signal to your subconscious. And it always defaults to the stronger, more emotional input. This is where Florence was radical for her time. She didn't just say to repeat words. She taught that your faith and your alignment had to match the words you speak. Faith without works is dead, she often reminded her students. In other words, if you don't walk in the direction of what you're saying, your words lose power. Neuroscience has a word for this too: cognitive dissonance. When your actions and thoughts contradict your spoken beliefs, the brain feels discomfort and seeks to resolve it by choosing the most consistent input. If your actions say, I'm afraid, and your words say, I am bold, guess what the subconscious chooses? The one with emotion, repetition, and behavior behind it. So here's how you fix it. Start small. Align your actions with your affirmations, even in tiny ways. If you say, I am abundant, take one action that reflects trust, like donating, tipping, or investing in yourself. If you say, I am healthy, make one food choice that proves it. These micro-aligned actions send a powerful message to your subconscious. This is real. This is who I am now. Florence taught that the moment you act as if, the subconscious begins to support that version of you. Not eventually. Immediately. So next time you say your affirmation, ask yourself, what would someone who believes this do right now? And then go do it. Before your phone, before the noise, before the demands of the world. There must be you. Because if you don't claim the direction of your mind first thing in the morning, someone else will. So here's how you take back your power. Not with force, but with a quiet command. Wake up and give yourself just a few moments of stillness. Sit. Breathe. Let your body soften. This is not wasted time. This is sacred ground. Right here, before thoughts scatter, your subconscious is wide open. This is your moment to plant the truth. And in that silence, begin to speak. Not with rushing, not with performance. Speak like someone who knows they are being heard. Say, I am in alignment with everything I desire. I am calm, bold, and grounded in purpose. I am already becoming the person I was meant to be. Now pause. Let those words sink. Feel them ripple through your chest, your breath, your posture. You are not repeating for the sake of noise. You're commanding your reality. And don't stop at words. Let the body join. Ask yourself, what action would someone who truly believes this take today? It doesn't need to be dramatic. Maybe it's dressing like you respect yourself. Maybe it's making that call you've been avoiding. Maybe it's simply choosing not to speak negatively about your situation today. Action is the proof your subconscious is looking for. Without it, your affirmations become just empty phrases. But with even the smallest action, a spark ignites. And that spark becomes a pattern. And the pattern becomes your new identity. End your ritual with a phrase that Florence taught again and again to her students. I give thanks that it is already done. Not as a wish, not as a hope, but as a knowing. Gratitude seals the affirmation with faith. And science now shows us that when gratitude is paired with mental rehearsal, the brain rewires faster, forming new neural pathways that align with the vision you just spoke. So tomorrow, when you rise again, don't just wake up. Take command. 5 minutes. One voice. A new reality. Your life doesn't shift when something outside of you changes. It shifts the moment you decide to speak differently, think differently, and feel differently about who you are. The subconscious is not your enemy. It's your most loyal servant. It does not judge. It obeys. And it will obey the strongest voice you give it. The one you repeat with emotion, with belief, and with boldness. This is the same principle that Florence Scovel Shinn taught almost a century ago, and it's the same truth science is proving now. You become what you impress upon your subconscious mind. So when you speak, I am, you are not describing your current condition. You are commanding your future. You are planting seeds in the most fertile ground that exists, the mind, beneath your mind. And with daily repetition, with feeling, and with action, those seeds will grow, even if nothing seems to change at first. Even if doubt whispers back louder than your affirmation. Keep speaking. Keep planting. Because one day, you'll wake up and realize you no longer have to say it. You are it. and that's the power no one can take from you. If this message resonated with you, take a moment now to subscribe to the channel and leave a comment below with one affirmation you're committed to repeating this week. Write it boldly. Claim it. Let's rewire the subconscious together.